Now, me thinking that I was never gonna see the babysitter again, I remember she ends up walking into my room out of nowhere as I'm in the middle of beating my eggplant, and she says, "I'm here for round 2, Baba." Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Baba, and welcome back to a super embarrassing but kind of crazy story. Today's story all takes place back in my high school years, and this was actually in my grade 9 year. Now, in grade 9, I'm not gonna lie to you, my parents did not trust me as much as they should have. And I will say this, it's probably because my grades weren't as good or because I was known for being a major player. But one thing I will say is that my parents didn't really have that much faith in me because, well, I always got myself into crazy trouble. And as you guys can see from the stories on this channel, they had every right to not trust me. But I remember basically there was one time in grade 9 when I came home from school and it was a Friday night. And I remember when I got home, I ended up seeing both of my parents and a babysitter that was sitting in the living room. Now, I remember when I walked in, I didn't recognize the babysitter at first, but then when I actually ended up looking at her in the eyes, that's when I realized, oh my goodness, I've done this girl before. And yes, this was actually one of the babysitters that I previously have told on this channel. Anyways, I remember when I saw her, I ended up looking at her saying, "What are you doing here?" "Baba, you need a babysitter and we couldn't find anyone, but I'm sure you'll remember this young lady. So we're going to be leaving her with you as we're gone for the weekend. It's only going to be 3 days. You're going to be gone for 3 days? Oh, okay, that's fine. I don't mind." Now, the reason I didn't say anything and I said I didn't mind was because me and this babysitter, we didn't really have bad blood, but at the same time, I always found her kind of weird because in a way, she was always kind of obsessed with me, or should I say obsessed with my eggplant. But honestly, I didn't really mind. And I remember my parents ended up getting up and leaving and they left that night. And when I was by myself at home with this babysitter, things got kind of weird. Because I remember the first thing she ended up doing was come into my room as I was sitting in there playing Call of Duty, and she sat down behind me on my bed and said, "Baba, can we talk about something?" Yeah, sure. What's up?" "I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt really weird from what we did last time. And I think we should just try to be mature and just, stick to our own thing." When she told me this, I found this kind of a surprise because the first time when she came and took care of me, well, if you guys watched the video, you guys would know 100% she was totally into me. But the fact that she wanted to keep things mature and stuff, I said, sure, I'm down to keep things cool. It's totally fine with me. "Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll reach out to you later, okay?" "Yeah, okay, sounds good. I'll talk to you later." She ends up getting up and leaving my room, and me thinking that, things were totally going to be a-okay. Well, I was wrong, because what ends up happening next was actually kind of insane. I remember later that night, basically, I ended up sitting in my bed and basically getting ready to go to sleep. And this babysitter ends up walking into my room saying, "Baba, are you going to bed?" Yeah, I'm just gonna go to bed. Why? What's up?" "Oh, okay, well, I was just checking. It's nothing. Bye." And she ended up leaving my room very awkwardly. Now, obviously, there was something that she wanted to tell me, but I wasn't sure what. But honestly, I didn't really care to find out until later on. Because I remember as I was sleeping in my room, just basically trying to pass out, watch some YouTube videos like Game Theory to try to sleep, I ended up getting up out of nowhere because I ended up hearing some weird noises. Now, when I hear weird noise in my house, I found it really weird. And knowing all the lights were off, I didn't care to turn them back on because I wanted to figure out what that noise was coming from. I don't know why, but it feels like when it's super late at night and your house is totally dark, I can't be the only one that knows their way through the house even when the lights are off. Or maybe I had super senses like Daredevil, but one thing I will say is I ended up basically walking through my house trying to figure out where that weird noise was coming from. As I was walking around, I remember I ended up taking a turn and I ended up hearing the noise was coming from the living room. Now, at first I thought this was the TV on, but when I actually ended up looking in there, I saw that it was pitch black in there and there was no TV on. But then afterwards, I ended up hearing a weird noise once again. Except this noise was way louder and I could figure out what it was because right as I turned on the light, I ended up seeing my babysitter with a toy on my couch and using it on her roast beef. Yeah, I know that's the best way I can put it because YouTube, I don't want you to demonetize this video. I'm trying to keep things really mature and safe here, but I am not joking. This girl was doing the devil's tango with herself on my couch. Now, I remember I saw this and I turned on the light and I remember me and her, we ended up staring at each other eye to eye and we ended up having eye contact and I looked at her saying, "Yo, are you good? What are you doing?" "Baba, nothing. I'm sorry. This is so weird." "You think?" "Yeah, it's really weird. What are you doing?" And one thing led to another. She ended up putting on her clothes and she ended up basically taking me back upstairs, apologizing over and over again for what she just did in my house. Obviously, I told her I don't care. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Even though to most people this would be a big deal, I tried to play it off as if, it was nothing. And me thinking that I could go to bed and just pretend none of this happened, well, I couldn't. Because I remember in the middle of the night, once again, I want to say an hour went by. She ended up coming upstairs to my room and she ended up sleeping on my floor. I don't know why she slept on my floor, but something tells me that the more like closer she got to me, the more comfortable she was with me. I have really no idea what this babysitter was trying to do, but honestly, the fact that she was just there still made no sense. I remember the next 2 days ended up going through, and basically, me and her, we ended up being really awkward towards each other from what happened the night before. And I had really no idea what to think because, well, I don't know, like, it was super weird. Like, just her at first, doing that on my couch and then sleeping in my floor. Like, it just made no sense. But I remember after the 2 days, her time was up for babysitting. My parents ended up coming home. And then afterwards, they were asking me if anything happened and stuff. And I said, no, everything was good. Until I realized the next day was the most craziest day of my life. Because I remember it was super late at night. My parents weren't home. They ended up going out to some dinner party, and I was just sitting at home, doing my own thing and laying in my bed, scrolling through my phone, just going through Instagram. And I remember as I was scrolling through Instagram, I decided to basically, release some stress off myself, and I ended up basically whipping out my eggplant and getting ready to, beat my meat, if I'm gonna be honest here. And then the craziest thing ended up happening where I remember as I'm just hanging out, just doing my own thing on my own bed, I ended up hearing a door open, and I ended up hearing footsteps going up my stairs. And then that's when I realized my babysitter ends up coming into my room and catching me do my thing in my own bed. And she says, Baba, I couldn't stop thinking about you. And then she ended up coming onto my bed, seeing that my eggplant was bricked. And yeah, me and her, we did the devil's tango. I'm not gonna lie to you. She basically came for more. That's all I'm gonna say. And honestly, it was super weird how my babysitter came for more. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, it was just one of the most awkward things to ever go through. But all I'm gonna say is that if you guys want a really hot babysitter like mine, just follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.